Mr. Speaker, it is the Prime Minister's second Christmas in Downing Street, and by his own admission, he's not in control. He says nothing happens when he pulls the levers. Does he blame himself or the levers?
Mr. Speaker, I'll just set out what we've achieved this week, Mr. Speaker. We're setting out our Violence Against Women and Girls strategy tomorrow. That is me specialist support for abuse victims and the 999 calls experts. The next lever was 500 jobs protected at Grangemouth. Partnering with INEOS to safeguard the plant's future. Next lever was Erasmus scheme, which is being announced later on today from January 2027. The next lever, Mr. Speaker, the Employment Rights Bill became law. The biggest uplift in workers' rights in a generation. I've got a whole more list, Mr. Speaker. I could go on for a very long time.
Not sure exactly what that had to do with the question, Mr. Speaker. The fact is, the Prime Minister promised economic growth, but the only thing that's grown is his list of broken promises.
Good evening, political gladiators, and welcome back to the British Report, the scene, the high-octane, no-holds-barred coliseum of live television debate. The combatants, a sleek, polished Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, armed with a binder full of talking points, and facing him, the Conservative Party's human exocet missile, Kemi Badnoch. The topic, the NHS, strikes, and who is to blame for the cancelled operations and the mounting chaos. Starmer lays out his defence, a careful construction of process and promise. And then, with the precision of a sniper and the force of a sledgehammer, Badnoch leans into the microphone and delivers not a paragraph, not a sentence, but a single devastating word. One word that cut through the studio lighting like a shard of ice. One word that framed the entire election, the entire Labour government, and its entire negotiating strategy. And in that moment, you could see the political landscape shift. This was not just a soundbite, it was an annihilation. So what was the word? And how did it connect to a crisis, leaving patients paying the price for political failure? Strap in, because we are dissecting the anatomy of a political knockout. Before we unveil the knockout blow, a quick request. If you live for these moments of raw, unfiltered political combat, you need to be subscribed with notifications on. Over 92% of people watching this right now are not. Do not be part of that silent majority. Hit the button, ping the bell. It is free, it is instant, and it is your front row ticket to every political punch-up. Thank you. Now back to the ring. To understand the power of that one word, we must first understand the battlefield, the doctors' strikes. A rolling, debilitating crisis that has become the background noise of a struggling NHS. But rewind. Before the election, Labour's tune was a symphony of blame. Keir Starmer and his then health spokesman, now Health Secretary Wes Streeting, were unequivocal. These strikes were the Conservatives' fault, a symbol of Tory mismanagement. They promised a new dawn. They promised they would end the strikes. Fast forward to Labour in government. The result? Not a tough negotiation, but a surrender. An inflation-busting, eye-watering 28.9% pay rise handed to doctors. And for what? No concrete, locked-in promise of reform. No ironclad commitment to productivity gains. No long-term workforce plan delivered alongside the cheque. It was, as Badnoch warned at the time, not a settlement but a precedent. A precedent that said to every union in the land, this government folds. It pays first, and asks questions never. And now, like clockwork, the strikes are back. The precedent has been cashed in. The pay rise was not the end of the dispute, it was merely the down payment. And this is where the theoretical becomes tragically real. This is not a Whitehall spreadsheet exercise. This is the cancelled hip operation for a pensioner left in relentless pain. This is the missed cancer appointment that turns a worry into a nightmare. There are parents tonight watching their child suffer, waiting for a procedure that has been postponed again, not because of clinical need but because of political failure. And where is the man who promised to fix it all? Health Secretary Wes Streeting, the architect of Labour's tough new approach, is nowhere to be seen. He is, as Badnoch brilliantly framed it, ducking responsibility, hiding behind process, and pretending this chaos is somehow unavoidable. It is a masterclass in political vanishing. The unions know it. They have seen the government's hand, and it is a handful of blank cheques. They have Labour, as the phrase goes, over a barrel. So why wouldn't they come back? Why wouldn't they escalate? The offer was rejected, the walkouts are back, and the cycle begins anew. Labour's great negotiating strategy has been revealed. Capitulate, then hope. And then, we cut to the studio. The Prime Minister is explaining, justifying, navigating. He talks of complex negotiations, of good faith, of the challenges inherited. And then comes the question to Kemi Badnoch. What is Labour's approach to these strikes? What does it reveal? She does not need a long preamble. She has the high ground of proven failure, and she delivers it. The one word that encapsulates the entire farce, the word is weak. That is it. Weak. In one syllable, she framed Starmer, Streeting, and their entire governing philosophy. It was not angry, it was not shouted, it was a cold clinical, diagnostic pronouncement. Weak. It cut through the obfuscation like a scalpel. It connected the pay rise without reform to the returning strikes. It explained Streeting's disappearance. It defined a government that is reactive, not proactive, supplicant, not sovereign, weak. It is the attack ad, the billboard, the entire Conservative campaign narrative, distilled into a single unforgettable sound. But Badenoch did not stop at the diagnosis. She presented the cure. And here is where the argument shifts from mere criticism to a stark philosophical divide. She drew a line in the sand of the hospital corridor. We entrust doctors with our lives. That sacred trust carries immense privilege, but it also carries non-negotiable responsibility. In many other nations, she points out, that reality is recognized in law. Doctors cannot strike. Why? Because public safety must come first, always, and Britain, she argues, should be no different. So she unveils the Conservative pledge, a ban on doctors striking, minimum service levels enshrined in law, treating doctors like we treat police officers and soldiers, essential servants whose right to withdraw labour is superseded by the public's right to safety. The argument is brutal in its clarity. If you choose a profession where lives depend on you turning up, you do not get to choose not to turn up. It is not about fairness to unions, it is about coercion of patients, taxpayers, many struggling themselves, waiting for appointments, facing stagnant wages, fund this service. They do not get to strike, they still pay in. The same standard must apply. The contrast could not be more theatrical. On one side, a Labour government that talks endlessly about protecting the NHS but will not take the one significant, difficult step to protect it from ransom, as Badenoch put it with a final withering flourish. The unions didn't just buy Keir Starmer for Christmas, they've got him for life. On the other side, a Conservative party promising the hard, politically risky but operationally necessary medicine, legislation, bans and an unequivocal statement that patient safety trumps union power. It is a gamble to frame it this way, but it is a clear choice. Competence versus chaos. Resolution versus weakness. One word from Kemi Badnoch did not just attack Keir Starmer, it defined the choice for the country. The question now is, which one will the public believe? Thank you for watching.